Hey there, everybody. John Gums and Bill going live for Dakota Grappler on a Thursday. Special show tonight. Gonna do some talking about all the region wrestling tournaments this weekend. Got a lot of discussion to do. There's going to be some great matches this weekend. Maybe a little controversy as we go. Just some talking points that we can go region by region. Total numbers. We can talk about, who's up and coming, who's looking good. We'll also look at the brackets for the state dual tournaments in both Class A and Class B. Other than that, we're here just to talk a little bit of wrestling. Try to go anywhere from, I don't know, Bill, how long you got tonight? 30 minutes to an hour?
Yeah,
or,
good luck.
or 1 or 2 hours or whatever.
We're done.
I love that your green screen's still working. So you got the lighting just right. I was going to set mine up tonight in my background, and then I said, nah, I had no use having to clean up afterwards. I'm waiting for my polls to come in. But I am preparing some Hall of Fame stuff too. We have many members going in the Hall of Fame. I'll talk about them that are coming up next weekend. So people that are fans of those wrestlers can come see them. Maybe haven't seen them in a while. We'll talk about that in the show tonight too. I did bring that up. There's some nice write-ups in the Metro tourney and stuff. I know a guy that does the tournaments, Jerry Schneider, another Napoleon guy, a classmate of mine back in Napoleon. He helps do the website every year for the state tournament. And so, well, let's get going right away. Where do you want to start? A or B? How about Class B? Let's go straight to Class B. How about that?
Yeah. We started Class B.
Okay.
One thing I guess probably the best thing to start. I mean, if we go Class B individuals,
okay.
That could be a good start, or we could go duels. I guess the duels would probably won't take quite as long. Let's start with that.
Okay, let's start with the duels. Okay, I'm gonna share one of my screens. Now if I can get to the right one, here there is. I've got many of them here. Screenshot. I don't know which one is which. Let's take a quick peek at one of mine here. Oh, that's the Class A. So that is not the one I want. Let's take a look at the next one here. I got to share a different screen. See how when I do that, that's the Class A duel. I'm prepared, but I've got so many screens I didn't know which was which. So there's the Class A duel. Let me share a different screen. Half a second for those that are watching. I got to go and I have to share a different screen. Share screen. And then let's take a look at... Wish I could preview that. That's the only thing I... Let's go this one. Oh, that's the A again.
Sorry. That's fine. Go in there.
Okay, let's go to the Class A duel here for a second. That's a good idea.
Yep.
Okay, let's look at that one. Okay, now this is the duel setup here for the state wrestling tournament coming up this weekend. You can see that at the top of the bracket, we've got Bismarck High facing West Fargo. And then you can also see that that's the opening round. On the same side of the bracket, you've got number 2 Devil's Lake facing Bismarck Century. Earlier this year, Bismarck Century did dominate the duel against Devil's Lake. I think won about a 54-9 match. And so Bismarck also, I think, faced West Fargo in the Metro duels. And I wish I'd have brought up the exact score. So the West pretty much did dominate in those duels. There is a chance for a sweep by the West, but I would say if I had to predict, that's actually the next one in the bracket will be the closest of all the duels. Valley City and Jamestown has faced twice this year, and Valley City's won them both, but they've been close. So we'll see what kind of things Jamestown could pull out of their hat for that one. And then on the bottom, we do see Minot, the number 2 versus Fargo Davies. And we'll see, Minot was looking good at the end of the season here. I do expect them to roll into the semifinals here. What do you think there, Bill?
Yeah, when I look at it, I kind of see it the same way. I do think Valley City's going to pull that duel off again. They seem to kind of have the horses in the right spots. I know this last time Jamestown did a little bit of bumping around, trying to get a little different outcome, and Valley City was still able to come out on top. So I think it's going to be, Bismarck High obviously, is a strong favorite there. That Century should roll through that one, and I don't see Davies giving Minot much of a match there either. So I think you'll see at least 3 of those West teams go over, but I do think Valley City is going to make it out of that first round.
Definitely. I think it should be very interesting, though. That is opening. Here's what's interesting at the state wrestling tournament. If you haven't caught this before, while the Class B matches are going, the first round of individuals, you will have the Class A duels. And then when that switches, it will go over to the Class A individual and the Class B duels. So if you're there right away Thursday early, you're going to catch either one or the other. It's pretty defined and pretty busy time seeing all that go
Yep.
down. Okay, that looks pretty good. I'm very happy. The whole situation with the duels, it should be very, very good. It's been great for the state, and I think what's interesting though is that when the Class B brings it, they'll because I tell you what, they have so many more fans that come and make it exciting.
Yeah, yeah, and as we kind of let that play out, I think Bismarck's by far the favorite in this whole tournament. I think we'll see a Bismarck uh, Minot final,
Mm-hmm.
which I think will be exciting. I'm guessing, I do think Bismarck's the favorite there still, but Minot and Bismarck have had some good battles in the past, and I think that they won't disappoint on Friday night here. So
Yeah, they won't disappoint for sure. They've got 4 returning state champions and 6 ranked number 1 right now, and actually 10 ranked in the top 3. So Bismarck is
wow,
definitely
yeah,
favored. Okay, well
yeah,
let's go.
yeah,
Let's go to the next one here. This time I should be able to get the right one up. Let's get the Class B ones up because there we go. Here is your Class B duels right there coming up.
yeah,
Okay. Now looking at the top of the bracket, we can see we had talked about this. We already kind of knew what our seeding. We kind of predicted this last week, and we were right with the number 1 and number 2. With Lisbon ranked number
yeah.
1, and you see kind of how they make up their bracket. Not a typical wrestling bracket. You usually put the number 1 on the
No,
top, so you can see.
yeah, I
it,
don't
but
know why they did it that way, but yeah,
yeah, they got Lisbon number 1 going against Minot Ryan, who has a pretty good team. But I really think this is a tournament for Lisbon to lose, if anything.
yeah, yeah, and Bishop Ryan was drawn in there, of course. Lisbon's the one. I'm kind of curious of how this seeding kind of did what criteria sorted out numbers 3, 4, and 5. They
Right.
got Lisbon 1, and I do think South Border is the second best team in the state. Um, I'm not sure if
Somebody
they're the
fought.
second best dual team in the state or not. That's where we'd find out, right? Um,
Right.
uh,
Well,
actually, Pembina County North has got a full squad, so they could give them a battle in that first round.
I tell you
But
what, some of
then,
the you're right. Some of the individual battles could be very interesting if you look at,
yeah,
and it depends if they wrestle them all full out. Pembina has got a coach's son in there that's been battling some injuries. He might not wrestle, or something like that if that duel's really big.
right.
I'd be
Yep,
surprised
yep.
opening
No,
up.
that's yep. Um, and then the committee put Velva as number 3.
There
And
had to be
I
there
don't.
had to be a fight somewhere in there for that one, and what the criteria was for them to get
Yeah, I
over.
don't know. I don't. Yeah, when I look at it, of course, I'm sure New Salem never dueled Velva. I know Carrington did not duel Velva. Velva did, win the Velva tournament, but every other tournament of the year, just in tournament points, Carrington and New Salem, I think, finished ahead of Velva in
Hmm.
Linton, New Salem, um, and that was the only ones they were both in. But they were, so that's odd to me how Velva ended up in there as the third. I
Right.
kind of figured that it would go. It surprises me.
And that
But
that
then,
opening duel's a barn burner for Carrington and New Salem. That's
oh
going to be
boy,
a
you're not
great
kidding.
duel.
They dueled earlier in the year. Um, that
But
was the
Carrington
Carrington
wasn't
team.
full.
Yeah, that was a different team.
Yep.
But New Salem did beat them pretty soundly, and they did not have Clay Gearhart in that duel.
Hmm.
So that's not going to be. That is going to be a barn burner. That's going to be the best. And I will say that's probably, since they started seeding them, they've seeded the top 5,
Hmm.
and that 4 or 5 has always been really, really competitive, and that's the way it should be. And if it was, if they'd done it a different way, where Velva was 4 or 5, that would be, it would be still be a great duel. So
Right.
yeah, that'll be a barn burner to see who gets to take on Lisbon.
Well, I tell you what,
Um,
being that New Salem and Carrington are probably going to be a little upset being on Lisbon's side, I'm thinking that Hettinger is just as happy being on the opposite side because Hettinger's been coming around at the end of this year, and
yep.
they have some guys that are really moving up. Tui, you name it, and that opening duel between Velva and Hettinger, I don't doubt if there's going to be an upset of an unranked team, Hettinger could pull it off, taking out Velva.
Well, I did not go
They're
through
pinners.
and check out the exact matchups, but Hedinger is really tough in the lower weights,
Yep.
and Velva's really tough in the upper weights. So it could be kind of a battle of two
Yep.
different halves of that duel. So that'll be exciting. No doubt, Hedinger will have a big crowd there. They will be in the ears of the Velva Aggies, and it'll be an exciting duel.
Well, I tell you what, the one side of the gym there, that would be the east side of the gym is going to be rocking. That's where the Class B is usually at. So
Yep.
you're gonna
Yep.
see that right away Thursday. And I tell you what, Jordan Hasler, come Friday when we do have the finals, Beck Television will be going live for both the Class A and Class B. So you're going to be able to see that across the state of North Dakota. If you want to see if it's on your local channels, go to Beck, and you should be able to find links to where they'll be broadcasting. Because myself, I'll be working on the A, and then I always tape record the Class B because I'm so kind of upset inside I don't get to see all those great Class B matches, especially in the duel. And
Yeah,
so
you bet.
I'll be busy watching the A and basically trying to see if anybody can take down Bismarck. But Bismarck, oh man, my side, I'll probably be peeking over there because they might have that thing won before we start.
Right, right. Yep.
Just on the total matches. So I'm hoping somebody can give them some tough matches. That would be, I don't see anybody beating Bismarck, but I want to see a good duel.
Yep, yep. I could see it happening. So I think Lisbon comes out of there, and I'll be honest with you, I really have a tough time. My heart obviously says that Carrington. I'd like to see Carrington come out of there, but New Salem could surely win that duel, and I think it's Lisbon's to lose there too. So I think you're going to see a Lisbon. I think you'll see a Lisbon South Border final. So
Another
that's
region one battle. Yep, definitely.
Yep, yep.
Okay, well,
Now I
awesome.
will say, Carrington gave some teams a really good battle last year in the duels that nobody expected. So, Coach Kerbaugh will have those guys ready. This is a team that expects to be in the duel finals. So it's kind of a tradition, and I think that those wrestlers will be ready to go.
Awesome. I look forward to it so much.
Yep,
Okay.
it'll be
Well,
fun.
that's good seeing that one. Well, now let's think about a couple other things. We have some regions we can talk straight into. We talked both the duels. Now let's go straight. Let's go number one, region number one, Class B. When we start looking into region one, of course, we know that. Well, let's first look at location. First of all, it is going to be held at Lemoore High School.
Yep.
So everybody can, if you're around that area, can catch probably one of the premier region wrestling tournaments out of there. You've got the pretty much number one and number two ranked teams in the state, having Lisbon and South Border there. There's gonna be a lot of battles. Some of the toughest wrestlers, pound for pound. Considering you have that Bowden Greenlee, you have. Oh, you could go through the whole Lisbon team. Hunter Swab. You could go through, South Borders, Hare, Charles Hare, and Lindgren. You go through Linton's got a couple studs in there. Of course, the Nagel kid. And then Lemoore, you can't, coach's son, Hebel.
Evil, yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
And then, of course, you could go through a couple from about every team. Of course, you got probably the best Class A, Class B, maybe pound for pound, both Class A and Class B. Senior Garrett Jangula
Yep.
wrestling for Napoleon at 170. So you're gonna it's be a great place to be to see some good wrestling.
Yep. No, that's for sure. One thing that's kind of jumped out to me is that Carter Schmitz from Kindred bumped up from 120 to 126. So that is going to change things a little bit. That is one of those things that I think it hurts Lisbon more than it does South Border because,
Okay.
you got Lindgren and, you would have, I think, and I'm talking about when we get to the state tournament time, but Lindgren and and Schmitz are a really, really good match. And if that could be either one of those guys, battling for a state championship there. And I think Schmitz is the clear favorite. At 126.
I missed that somewhere along the way. You got to look at the brackets a little bit there at the regions, because all the Class B brackets are up on track if you guys haven't had a chance to see. But Lindgren is taking care of Schmitz, so that's
it was an overtime match. So I watched that match, and I thought for 2 periods that Schmitz was by far the better wrestler. Okay. And Lindgren came back and really dominated the 3rd period and took it into overtime and won the match in overtime. So I do think that match could go either way down the road, but we're not going to see it again this year because Schmitz went to 126.
Right. Okay.
So, and I literally think that takes a few points away. From Lisbon, because they got Caleb Nielsen at 126, and I think that's going to knock him down a notch.
Right.
And it's going to give a few extra points.
Champ to not be a region champ.
Yep. Exactly. So that's one of those things. And then there was another one. I think. Gosh, who was it? There was another. Oh, Easton Ogren from Kindred.
Okay.
Moved to one. He moved down from 160 to 152.
Ooh.
So, that's another, I think he was ranked 5th in the state at 160, and he's going to drop down to 152.
Well, if you think both brackets were tough in Region 1, you got to avoid Sowers and Hare at 60. Those top two.
Yeah, that's a tougher, right.
And maybe he feels he's got a better shot against Joachim and Schmidt, the top two.
I think he's probably got a pretty good shot against Schmidt. I don't think anybody's touching Joachim. So, but once again, we're talking about the same thing. If he knocks Schmidt down a notch, that's taking points away from Lisbon and add. So that really could make this team race a little bit more interesting.
Kindred might be South Border's best friend.
Oh yeah, they'll have a lot of fans. They'll all be in blue and white, and they'll all be cheering for each other. So. So I thought that was, pretty interesting. I think besides that, the brackets are pretty well self-explanatory. I did kind of go through, and I think that Lisbon's going to probably qualify 12 wrestlers. I think South Border is going to qualify 10. So that, obviously makes a little bit difference when we get to, the team scores. But, if South Border has, it's just a matter where they score points. You can. Couple of guys could get there that don't score anything too. So I think that both coaching staffs are going to have it make it very imperative to their wrestlers that every single match counts. And we've seen that in the past where a team wins by 2 points or something, and they have one wrestler that doesn't place, and but wins a match in the wrestlebacks, and that made the difference.
Yep, by pin or whatever it is, the extra, the extra points. I've seen it.
Yep, you bet.
I go back. I go back to when Lisbon kind of lost the state championship several years ago, when they had a 3 or 4 time state champion not pin his kid in the finals, and so it'd be really interesting.
Yeah. Just kind of my feeling from looking at them. I think, like I said, I think Lisbon qualifies 12. I think South Border 10, Oaks 9. Besides that, Napoleon's probably 3. Kindred 3. Lemoore could have as many as 7, which is pretty good for the home squad there. Ellendale, Culm. Yeah, I look at 7 coming out of there too, and the majority of those are in the upper half of the bracket of the weights.
Okay.
They're really solid up in those upper weights, and then Linton, it looks to me like probably qualify 5. So I could surely be wrong, but that's how I see it.
You've never been wrong.
I've been wrong many times. So, but
and hopefully people stay healthy. That makes a difference too. I remember many years where somebody gets hurt in the regions. Yep. Yeah.
You got to keep everybody healthy at the region. Nobody getting hurt. Nobody having. There's going to be. We're going to hear a few stories after the end of this weekend where someone had a skin issue or someone didn't make weight or some, I mean, just it's that time of year. Weird things. Something's going to happen in one of these regions, whether it's Class A or Class B, between here and the state tournament. Weird things are going to happen, and I'd like to say it's not going to happen, but I don't remember the last time it did. So
right.
Everybody's got to stay healthy. Everybody's got to kind of, like Tom Schoner said, some are sick, some are naughty, and some just don't wrestle well. So hopefully everybody stays healthy. Yeah,
I didn't bring that. Yeah. Okay. So I just want to say, hey, Mark, thanks for watching tonight. I see that you wrestled with Kerbaugh. He's helping out at Carrington yet. We get quite a few people. Last night, record numbers. We almost had 1,000 views on Facebook already as of last night, watching our interview with Frank Fish. Again, I want to thank Frank Fish for coming on. Just a great guy. And so if you have a chance, again, Dakota Grappler, go over to YouTube. We have all these archived. Tonight is my 99th video. And so our next video we do will be over 100. So on Sunday,
wow, we'll do something. Probably won't do anything exciting at all to celebrate that, but we'll have it. We'll do 100.
Oh yeah. I'll have balloons in the background and everything else. Yeah, definitely. But I tell you what, there's a lot of interest out there. We got a lot of people, surprisingly enough, on Facebook is the biggest place, and I'm not sure how a guy can change that, but I love it. I love that we're getting wrestling out there, and
yep.
And so let's go to Region 2. Okay,
Region 2. Yep.
You can talk Region 2. You're the Carrington man, so I'll let you start that up first.
Oh, Region 2 will be held at Central Cass this year. That hasn't been held there for 8 years. I remember the last time it was. So, Region 2 is I think it'll be a team battle again between Carrington and Pembroke County North.
Okay.
I think Carrington's got. I think I didn't see any real big changes in the brackets. Nobody really moving weights, anything goofy like that. I think that everything we're coming in pretty well straightforward. There's going to be some kids, that haven't seen each other. We haven't seen Grafton a whole lot. Northwood is a program that we talked about just briefly one day, but they've got a handful of kids in the tournament. I guarantee you they are going to qualify one kid. And which would be the first time, and I don't know how long. It'd take a different wrestling historian to come up with that, but they could definitely have more. I think 106 will be really, really competitive. I think we've got 5 really pretty good kids that could come out of that bracket in different directions.
We talked about the feisty kid from Grafton.
Yeah, I think he's seeded 5th, and what I saw, I kind of think that I'm picking him to come out. Yep, I'm picking him to come out of the region. So I hope he doesn't knock off my little buddy Trace Hogarth. But these are fun wrestlers to watch. So this is the future of our sport. These are all young guys. They're all going to be around for a lot of years, and so we're gonna. Those are guys to watch, and you start learning their name.
Yeah, you love the scrappiness of those lightweights.
Yep, at 113, Tristan Lura and Trevor Hinkle are kind of the class. Yeah, they're kind of the class of that weight class here. Tristan's ranked seeded 1, and Hinkle's number 2, and I think they'll end up meeting the finals. Tristan did get them last week in the duel. I think it'll be another good match. 120. Matthew Duxer's number 1 seed. I guess I could pull this up and I'd look at it and not go completely off of memory. But Tristan's the number. Matthew Duxer's the 1. Which I bring up. We were talking about the Schmitz deal moving. That kind of helps Carrington a little bit too, because I think it gives another spot that Matthew can move up.
Yes, Matthew can move up there definitely.
Oops, I went into Region 1 again.
Matthew's a tall kid. He's one of those kids that could surprise some people with the cradles and
yeah, yep. No, and he looked good last week. I think he's pretty healthy. He had the broken arm earlier in the year, and he's come back kind of full force. He did injury default out at East West, but he's fine. That was kind of a concussion concern, but it wasn't. He never missed any time. He was fine. So, and Chance Burns from Grafton, that would be the 106 pounder's brother. He's the number 2 seed. So he's. Okay. We start talking about matches. The kid's he's 30-12 going into the regionals. But he's a freshman, and obviously he's been doing pretty good. Carson Brown, is a scrappy kid from Pembina County North, is a 3 seed, and then the 4 and 5 are from Larimore and Central Cass, and I think that's going to be a pretty interesting match. I'll tell you one thing that's fun to me to watch is those Larimore and Central Cass. The coaching staffs, the assistants, are kind of a mixed up bunch of former Central Cass wrestlers that are coaching at Larimore and former Larimore wrestlers that are coaching at Central Cass. So it's as you've watched, I've watched these kids kind of grow up, and all of a sudden I look over and they're coaching against each other and against their former team. So
the wrong schools.
126. Luke Leshik from Hillsborough Central Valley is the 1 seed. He comes in he's a senior with a 31-3 record.
Are they filling a full team right now in Hillsborough? Did you look at that?
They are not. No. I think I'll tell you how many they got in the tournament. They have 11 in the tournament. So
okay.
Not far off. I think Pembina County is the only one with 14. Carrington's got 11. Central Cass has 12. Grafton 9. Harvey and Hillsborough both with 11. Mayport with 7. Northwood with 7. And Larimore with 8. So that's kind of where they ended up. But I think the 2 seed at 126 was Cale Kovar from Carrington. He's a freshman at 26 and 20 record. So, that's another pretty good spot on the Carrington side. I think we should be able to get Cale through. 132, Breckenlura is the 1 seed, sophomore with a 37-10 record. Jace Horgan, coach's son, is the 2 seed. Central Cass, Jaden Bartz is the 3 seed. And then a Grafton, Jose Rodriguez is a 4 seed. So, and I actually think that the 4 and 5 there again is going to be a battle of who comes out of that bracket. I think that the top 3 seeds are kind of the favorites to come out, but the 4-5, it could be either one of those 2 guys.
Well, I tell you what, the true 4th also comes into consideration sometimes in these regions. I've seen that happen before, where you just lost your chance. You're taking 4th place and really upset, and then you got somebody challenging you, a half hour later for that spot.
Yeah. Let's see. 138, Preston Litton from Pembina County North is the 1 seed. Alex Ibanez from Grafton's a 2 seed. Those are actually, they're probably the cream of the crop there. This is another one. I think the 4 and 5 are probably fairly close. Joe Lindbergh from Carrington's for the 4, and Zach Secchi from Central Cass is the 5, and it could be either one of those kids coming out of that region. But that'll be good. 145, Tanner Erlob, senior, coming with a record of 5-0. Yeah, so he's
got 7. Isn't he 7-0? I think somebody said he had 7 matches in, but
it says 5-0 here. Okay. So I'm going to go with that. But
yeah, he's the cream of the crop there, definitely at that weight class. But it all depends on injury. Sullivan.
Right.
Has he wrestled Sullivan from Central Cass?
They did not wrestle in the duel.
Okay.
They wrestled the duel, but Tanner didn't wrestle. So,
okay.
And I don't, and they wouldn't have wrestled anywhere else. So no, I don't, I don't believe they have. So
right. Okay.
This is another one. I think that, the top 3 are probably the 3 favorites, and the 4 or 5.
It's going to be a battle.
It could be a battle. Jonathan Lura is the Carrington kid that's unseeded, but he's got the 4 seed and he's got the 5 seed spot there. and Jonathan actually is a a little bit different cat. He wrestled for a long time. Was out for a few years, and he came out after Christmas this year. So he's
Right.
He's kind of getting his legs about him. I saw him wrestle on Saturday, and he looked like he's. Okay. Breyer says that they did wrestle at the Larimore tournament. So Central Cass must have been up at Larimore. So
okay, awesome.
Then that means that Tanner won that match. I did not realize Central Cass was at Larimore, and that's my that's my bad. So that'll be interesting. So yeah, that's 138. I mean 145, 152. This one kind of pains me a little bit in Region 2. There's only 4 kids in the weight class. The good news is they all go to the state tournament. But we're at but to me, I think every school in the state should have 152 pounders, and
maybe
we've got 4.
Gums on your Carrington roster. He could make it.
Yes, we do. We do have room. Yep, we sure do. So Central Cass, Aiden Olson Tinglestead is the number 1 seed, 33-10, and then everybody else is kind of Pembina County North. Right. Demetrius Avila is 21-8. But this is Max Larson from Northwood is going to be Northwood's first state qualifier in a lot of years, unless someone younger than him, lower than him, qualifies earlier. But then after that we go to 160. Tate Hogarth is the 1 seed. He's 45-7. A senior. Tate's been looking pretty good. I think he'll be all right coming through this bracket. But Carson Mertz from Harvey Wells County is scrappy, and we'll give him a battle. He will not give up anything easy. Cooper White from Pembina County North is the 3 seed, so I think he's got a pretty good chance to qualify. And then the 4 and 5 are Adam Bina from Northwood and Devin Henkel from Hillsboro. I would guess the Hillsboro kid will come out of that, but you never know. They may have wrestled, may have not. I would have to think these Northwood kids are just going to be getting better as the season goes on. So 170, Michael Clifton is the 1 seed. He's 46-6. He's a sophomore. Has not really taken a bad loss all year. Has looked pretty solid. He's beat some pretty good kids.
Maybe in the Rumble the Red, but those might not count. They're out of state.
Yeah. Oh no, he's taking losses, but not. Yeah. I mean, not really losses that of guys that you just would expect him to be, winning that match. He's taking losses, and he's but just he's kind of beat the kids that he should have beat, and he's wrestled. He's lost somebody that were close. So. I think he's the cream of that tournament. Barrett Wilson from Hillsboro Central Valley is the 2. Harvey Wells County kid is the 3. He's and then at the 4 and 5 are probably pretty close again. Pembina County North and Dylan Norman from Larimore are going to battle it out there for that 4th spot. I think 182. This is a weight Carrington doesn't have anybody. Gavin Wright from Hillsboro is 23-7, a senior. He's a good looking wrestler. Looked good. I watched him a little bit this last weekend. And then Gavin Hornan from Pembina County North is a 2, and then Central Cass has a young kid there that's the 3 seed. Let's see here. 195. Bo Retzloff from Carrington's the 1 seed. I think he's maybe ranked 3rd or so in the state. Is that about right?
What kind of record does he have right now?
He's 37-13. So 50 matches going into the state
50 matches in 2.
Yep, or into the regional tournament.
Right.
Yep. Yeah. Well, Bo's been a little bit. Well, he took 8th at the 7th or 8th, 7th at the Rumble.
Yeah.
So that. You get some more and then you spend a little time in the wrestlebacks at the Rotary, and those matches start piling up. And he and Bo is the only wrestler in this bracket with a winning record. So really the other, it's a 5-man bracket. Any of those other kids could come out of that bracket, I think. And it'll be kind of fun to see how they shake it out. 220 will be interesting once again. Eli Bjornstedt from Pembina County North is the 1, and Colton Bustis from Carrington is 2. Colton's a kid returning state placer that came out late in the year. They did wrestle on Saturday, and Bjornstedt did come out on top, but that match could go either way, I believe. And they're the cream of the crop at this weight in this region. So the other 4 kids will kind of be fighting it out for the other 2 spots. And I would guess that the Larimore kid will come out of that region. Then anyone knows the next one. 285, the Pembina County North kid is Letexier is the 1 seed. Dylan Sell from Central Cass is the 2. Grafton's got the 3. This is a 4-man bracket. They're all going to
4 heavyweights.
They're all going to state. Yep, they're all going to states.
Well, it's good to see that you have every one of them. We'll talk about another region where there's a weight class that's not full. That's not.
Yeah,
full,
unfortunately.
So.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's true.
Yep.
So Region 3, Region 3 actually is really a competitive region from what I could see. Let me just get back here to some of these, but I don't know how much you've seen some of these Region 3 kids, I bet.
I did see some of them early in the season. There were several of them
at the Minot tournament. Yep. I have not seen too many of them, with the exception of a little bit on video.
Well, I tell you what, it's been a while, but Tioga's holding the Region 3 wrestling tournament. So Tioga having their own team kind of makes a difference. They've been combining, a couple different places over the years, and they've actually done fairly well. And I have not, like you said, you're looking at the brackets. Let's go through the numbers first of how many the teams have in there, and then we can go a little bit bracket or just talk a couple of weight classes or something else.
Well, Velva is got 4. They got a full lineup. They got 14 kids. Okay. Northern Lights has 12.
Okay. They've had really nice team. In fact, I've talked to him about being on too, but we always I forget to give him a call. I'm going to get him on one of these times too.
Williams County has 14. That's a full lineup.
There we go.
Bishop Bryan has 13. That's close to a full lineup. Surprises me a little bit. They had really, really big numbers a few years ago. I don't know if they got kids stacked up at different weights, but they got 13. So that's surely nothing to shake a stick at. Delax Burlington has 12. So that's a
Pryor. Thanks for the update on that.
Super, thank you. Kenmare Burke Central has 13, so close to a full lineup. Stanley has 9. Mondack Thunder have 5, and Rugby has 8. That's down numbers for Rugby also. I don't know.
Big time down numbers.
What has happened?
Big town.
Yeah,
basketball.
Yeah, they've had it is a big basketball town, but they've had pretty good numbers in the past. I know they graduated a few kids, and maybe they've had some kids move out. I don't know the answer to that. So I
know Zach Myers put his heart and soul into coaching that for a long time too.
Oh, so. Absolutely. Yep. I think when we start adding up the team scores at the end, Velva will end up on top, and probably be. Yeah, it'll be interesting how they shake out their 2, 3, 4, that kind of stuff. Because I think Bishop Bryant's got a lot of good kids, but Delax Burlington will have a champ for sure.
I'll have a couple studs in there. Yep.
106, number 1, Colin Dean from Velva, has been really solid all year.
I'm very impressed with him in Minot early on because he was a 13-pounder to start.
Right.
So he's going to be big. He's
33 and 9. It's kind of interesting. So he's a sophomore. Billy wrestled his older brother when Billy was a freshman, and his older brother was 100. Well, I've been a 45-pounder at the time, so there's a little age gap there. But yeah, So I've kind of remember when Colin first kind of came up, even as a 7th grader.
Sure.
Pretty, and well, even wrestling youth tournaments. Justin Hudson.
Total numbers, like we had talked about, we hadn't talked about the total, but Region 3 does have the most wrestlers in it.
They have 100.
100
100,
wrestlers.
I think. Yeah, 100 in Region 3. We'll kind of say that. Not Region 1 has 95 total wrestlers.
Yep.
Region 2 has 90. And Region 3 has 100. Region 4 we will discuss next, but they've got 60 wrestlers. So
that's very
numbers
scary.
numbers are down. And I know they did lose Watford City as a team a few years back, but something maybe needs to be done out there, and I'm surely not going to be the one that makes that decision. But
well,
we'll discuss it when we get there.
It's tough because it's just one of those regions. They're so far apart, and
right.
They moved Newtown into there, but that's not adding numbers either.
Yeah, but they got one kid. Yeah, they have one. So that didn't help a lot.
No, not really.
But
let's talk Region 3 before we get into 4.
Yeah, Region 3. Justin Hudson from Northern Lights is the 2 seed.
Okay.
This is going to be a competitive, just like we kind of talked about at the other regions. I think 103 is going to be, or 106, is going to be a really competitive tournament. I think there could be, any of the top 6 could come out of this weight class. So I think Colin Dean's your best wrestler there, but I think after that, even 1 and 2, I think are pretty well set, but they'll come after that. 113. Havlin DeLong from Northern Lights is the 1 seed, 22 and 10, 8th grader. So he's having a good season. And then Velva Shaden Shile is 27 and 18. So, they're the top 2 seeds. And the rest of them are, gonna battle it out. I think you got a couple kids that are just a little over 500. Timothy Ford from Kenmare is a 7th grader with 22 and 9 record. That's kind of a nice thing to see. That's a kid there that's going to have a pretty good future, I think. 120, we got another Hudson. Jacob Hudson from Northern Lights is the 1 seed. So, those guys are putting out some pretty good kids. Williams County, Canvas Sanders is the 2 seed. If I remember right, I think at 120, he's ranked 6th in the state. So, that's and Jacob Hudson was ranked 3rd. So this is, a lot of these, I would have to believe that nobody has seen many of these Northern Lights and Williams County kids except for maybe at Linton. So we'll see how that all shakes out. We've seen this happen before in the past. 126. Ethan Wanzer from Williams County is 37 and 4, coming with a pretty good record. Gunnar Mogan from Velva's the 2 seed at 39 and 8. Those are by far the 2 best kids in that bracket. I shouldn't say by far, but those are 2 really, really solid wrestlers.
Sure.
They will be finishing up towards the top of the state tournament too, I think. 132, Williams County has a number 1 seed here in Christian Lagoons. Riley Odden from Rugby, I think is a very good wrestler and definitely could win that bracket. He's 38 and 12 as a sophomore. Good solid wrestler there. Let's see, 32, 38. Kenmare's got a number 1 seed. Peyton Wilt at 27 and 12, a senior, so probably got some experience. And then number 2 is Caden Myers. This is another kid that I remember watching his older brother wrestle and from Stanley, 30 and 7, 10th grader, sophomore. So
okay.
The number 5 seed here is a kid I know pretty well, Aiden Jensen. He's only a 6 and 9 record, so out of Rugby. I wonder if maybe he's been battling an injury. He's a pretty good wrestler. Seen him do some stuff in the past. I kind of think he might come out of the state tournament.
Okay.
Oh, I see. Okay. 145. Delax Burlington. This is Delax Burlington's first number 1 seed. Kel Eibach, 38 and 10 freshman. So that's pretty good to see. That's got a good future there. Cody Rudolph from Stanley's 37 and 12 is a 2 seed. And then
Rudolphs have been there forever.
Yep, that's for sure. 152 pounds. Branson Yanish from Velva's the 1 seed, 31 and 5, really, really solid wrestler. Junior, got some experience, upperclassman. Gonna be pretty tough to beat in this bracket. My favorite name in all of North Dakota wrestling right now is Walter Winkler, is the number 2 seed. Walter is a senior, so we've kind of seen him around for a few years, and he's 36-7, so he's kind of put together a pretty good season. I'm sure he'd like to make a real run at the state tournament. I do see Skylar Ford from Kenmare Bowbells is the 3 seed, 21-5, so that's going to be a pretty competitive weight class. 60, Michael Thomas from Velva is very solid, and Brady Volk from Rugby is very solid. They've got similar records. They're both seniors. They probably wrestled a bunch of times, and they're going to see each other, I'm sure, here in the finals.
Okay.
We start running into these tough Velva kids here. Brady Selzer from
when
Velva.
You start getting the upper weights, Thomas.
Yep. Brady is 35-12. He's just a freshman, but he's built like a moose, and
he's going to be
very, very solid.
Yes.
Yep. And number 2 seed there is Northern Laces Darren Wilson. I'm sure they've seen each other in the past. It's going to be fun to see how that shakes out. 182, Corbin Okeson from Bishop Bryan. Corbin's a future Division II wrestler going to St. Cloud State next year, the number 1 team in the country. So good for him. And he's 44-2, senior.
Yeah, he went and wrestled Coy Spooner. He bumped up.
Okay.
To wrestle him. And
so, that's right. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so he's solid and gonna kind of be tough to beat here. But here's where you got Bryce Selzer too, and I'm sure they've seen each other a couple times already. But Corbin's the number 1 kid in the state, and for a reason. Yes. 195 is where you just talked about Coy Spooner. Coy Spooner's another one that's going on to wrestle in college. He's going to wrestle
do you remember?
Is he going to
Coast Guard?
I think he's going Coast Guard Academy. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Coast Guard Academy, right from the Lax Burlington to the Coast Guard.
Yep.
I've kind of watched Coy wrestle all the way. He wrestled varsity there as a 7th grader, about 106 pounds, and now he's at 195, and he's a tall kid and got a good wrestling pedigree. So I'm kind of looking forward to seeing him at the state tournament. I obviously have not seen him all year, so. But he hasn't lost.
Another father-son combination. His dad.
Yep.
Very well. Yep.
220. We got another Jesperson from Velva. Never run out of Jespersons in the Velva area, and they always seem to be the number 1 seed. So that's this keeps going. Jeremiah's 25-9. He's a junior, and Noah Swedgarden from Bishop Bryan's the number 2 seed, and I think those will be the 2. Top out of that, and then it's anyone's guess of the other 3 that are going to come out. There's 2 more coming out, 3 more in the bracket. They're all about the same records, and we'll fight it out. Heavyweight, Bishop Bryan again has a pretty good heavyweight. Keegan Henjum, 45-3, a senior. They've had some pretty good upper weights for quite a few years, and this kind of looks like it's stayed there. Nick Hodges from Velva's 22-5, so. This will probably be a pretty good battle in the finals there. And I think, like I said, team-wise, I think you're going to see Velva come out on top, and then some semblance of, Bishop Bryan, Delax Burlington, and Northern Lights, I guess, are going to, fill out the rest of them. Although Williams County's got a full squad, but I think those other 3 are going to have some champs, so that's where you're going to see the difference.
Okay.
Next, I would say we go to Region 4. This is I don't want to make you mad.
One where we're going to have to do some work. Yep.
Yeah.
This is one
I don't know, and I don't know all the answers. Why I'm going to point out the problems.
Well, 14 times 4 is 56. We talked about that. 56 wrestlers qualify, and there's 60 wrestlers there. So,
60 wrestlers in the bracket or in the tournament.
But there's a weight class that only has 2 in it, and we'll have to get to that. New Salem has got some tough wrestlers along the way, but it's pretty much a free ride to state for everybody here. The regions could be done by noon, so if you're Region 4 champs, you might be able to catch out. The next region. You could go to 2 in one day.
You could go to you could hit 2 in one day. So this is the concern. I'll even say a few years ago, people would bring up, geez, and these other another region. You pick the region, 2, 3, 4, whatever
Right.
it is, right? Um, there's all kinds of guys making it to the state tournament with a losing record. Now we're seeing that in every region. Every
Right.
region's going to have someone making. Well, maybe not region 1, but I think
Right.
so. I think there's going to be kids in every region that are going to make it to the state tournament with a losing record. So it is what it is. But
this
there's
is going to be that
kids that
battle.
make it to the
This
state
is going to be
tournament.
that battle again where you see, Pennsylvania dropping down to 12 weight classes or 11. They're even
Right.
talking about or whatever. That
Yep.
you could see this happening. The proposal again for Class B to drop down, but you never know. I guess until it happens nationwide, North Dakota won't usually hop on.
North Dakota won't do it. Yeah.
Right.
No, I mean, yeah, we're gonna have kids at the state tournament this year that have with no wins.
Ooh.
So yeah, and worse yet, we're gonna have a couple forfeits at the state tournament in the first round.
And I don't know how they're
couple
going to do
buys.
that now. Here's an interesting one. I've never seen it where a team could qualify an extra. Let's say they already got a guy at that weight class in Class B. Maybe I'll have to ask somebody. Has that ever happened? Let's say Bowman has got two 20-pounders and they're leaving one at home.
I don't know. You gotta ask your dad.
I don't. But I don't think in Class B it's ever happened.
It's never happened.
I don't
No.
think so.
No, I say never, and I could be wrong, but I don't think it's ever happened. No.
Mm-hmm.
No. Yeah. So it'll be interesting. We'll go through these brackets too, and we probably should have spent more time on Region 1, but we go through
We'd be
these
here all
brackets
night then.
right. But I don't know if there's a full bracket in Region 4. There's some very solid wrestlers, and there's going to be 4 kids that come out of some of these brackets. In 106 is one of them. They're going to have 4. There's only 5 kids in that bracket, and 4 of them are very, very good, and probably all 5 of them are pretty good. Christian Ramos is the 5 seed, and he's 5-13 as an 8th grader, and I'm sure he's battled all these kids. But at 106 pounds, Cole Gearhart from New Salem is the 1 seed. He started out the season at 113 pounds, so I think some of his losses. He said he's 32-7. I know some of those losses came at 113 pounds, and
Right.
I doubt. Oh, they did. I do not remember that happening. Breyer says that a couple. I don't remember that happening. But I would be interested to see if it happened. You would have to pick.
That I believe that's what I was thinking somebody did. But here's what's interesting: it was a 5th place guy who did that team wouldn't have had somebody there to fill the bracket. So at least they filled the bracket. But so 220, if there's extras in some region, you might have a chance to go at 5th.
Right.
I'm serious.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yep. Yeah. Well, I think
two guys in that weight class.
If I remember right, I think at 220 and at Region 2 was there only 4, or maybe there was 5.
We'll have to look. We'll make our own decision.
Yeah.
You get to go.
We'll put them in. We'll pick you. We'll pick the person that gets to go. I think Cole Gearhart's and Mason Melmer from Beulah Hazen is a really, really good wrestler too. Jaron Frank from Henninger Scranton is 31-18 as an 8th grader. We heard Randy talk about him when he was here. They're all going to show up to wrestle. That will be a really, really fun weight class. Where did we say that Region 4 is being held? I think
Killdeer.
Killdeer. That is correct.
So they could head over to Watford City and watch the West Region when they're done.
Yeah, they'd have time. Yep, you'll have time.
If you're a wrestling fan, come meet me. I'll give you the Dakota Grappler if you make more tournaments. I'll have some extra there.
113 pounds. Peyton Huey's the number 1 ranked kid in the state. 34-10 as a sophomore.
He came on. I tell you what,
Yep.
he was low. He was probably ranked that 5th, 6th range until the East-West.
Yep. So he's gonna, he's really the number 1. Number 1, 2, and 3 there are pretty solid.
Well, that Connor Bosch, he's the guy that I was really impressed with too up in Minot. He's the kid who I thought had a motor already. And
yes.
Very
He was
strong.
at 120.
Yes.
He was at 120 at the time. Yes. Yeah, he is very solid. I'm going to, so 120 pounds, the number 1 seed here is Gus Bombach. Gus is from Killdeer. He's 44-11.
Now he's got a bloodline there too.
Yeah, yeah, he sure does, and he was born in Carrington, and he should have stayed here.
Jim Jeske is his grandpa, actually. And his dad was 2 or 3 time state champ for also there. Yep, 3-time if I remember right.
Yeah. So we've been following Gus here at the home residence, and if he's not wrestling a Carrington kid, we cheer for him. So
my son wrestled him last year in Mandan, and so my son's just a little bit bigger. He is a good wrestler, very good.
Yep. So Gus is 44-11. He's a 1 seed. Gavin Daly from Henninger Scranton is the 2 seed, and you can and another Dahl, Riley Dahl from New Salem Almont is the 3 seed. All those kids will come ready to scrap, and I'm just looking here with Gus at 40-11. I'm glad he has a bye in the first round. He gets a little bit of a break. He's had a lot of mat time this year.
55 matches.
126. Tucker Strand from Bowman County is number 1. Cody Irwin from New Salem Almont's number 2. I know the Irwin kid pretty well. He's a really solid wrestler. I have not seen the Bowman County kid, but obviously he's had a good season, and he's gonna have a pretty good tournament there. He's got a bye in the first round. There's about 5 kids in this bracket. So
okay,
132 pounds. Clay Gearhart is the number 1 kid in the state at 132 pounds. He's 24-0. He's a senior. He's going to end up with is one of the top Class B wrestlers here for quite a while. Cade Warbus from Henninger Scranton's a 2 seed. Bowman County kid Kieran Coyle is a 3 seed at 14-11. So this is another 5-man bracket. One of these kids is going to not make it. The rest of them will
have to sit home.
Yep. 138 pounds was a 4-man bracket. Ethan Hammonds from New Salem again is 27-6. That's another 1 seed, and then another Connor Andrus from Henninger. That's a long-time family name there. Is the 2 seed. 145 is another 4-man bracket. So everybody's going to states. Urza Weichman from Henninger is the 1 seed, and Mason Olander from New Salem Almont's the 2 seed. Let's see here. That's 145, 152. This is another 4-man bracket. Ty Warbus from Henninger Scranton's pretty good kid. Senior, got some experience on him. I think Randy's done a really, really good job with this class of kids. He's 30-13. Has seen some pretty tough competition through the year. Ty Walding from New Salem's 33-6, another really good wrestler. He's a freshman and got a real good future ahead of him too. 4-man bracket, like I said. 160 for another 4-man bracket. Navarre Head from Oklahoma County is the number 1 seed. He's a kid that started his wrestling career here with the Pit Crew.
Another Carrington boy.
Yeah, 21-13. They all stay home. We wouldn't have all these forfeits. I'm guessing. Navarre's dad Henry was a sheriff here, a county sheriff's deputy. I'm guessing that's what he's doing. I moved out to Bowman County to do the same thing. 170. Zach Anderson, really solid wrestler from Killdeer, 35-7. He's got to be the 2 or 3 best kid in the state, I guess. It'll be interesting. I think him and Michael Clifton are 1-1 against each other.
Right. I watched him in the Mandan tournament, and he looked solid. I tell you what, Anderson should be a tough out at the state tournament. I mean, that semifinal match, I'm guessing it probably could be Clifton and Anderson. They're probably on the same side when it comes to state.
We hope so.
Yeah, it'll be nice. It'll be a semifinal match that could be a barn burner because I've been impressed with both those wrestlers this year.
Yeah, so I think you're exactly right. I think and Hager Scranton's kid Tristan Picas is 28-13, so he's no slouch. He's a freshman, so he's young. It'll be interesting where they go. Another kid like
Randy kind of said it too that he's figuring it out.
Yep. John Tomjack from Killdeer is the 1 seed at 182. He's 24-11. This is another 4-man bracket. And Aaron Riplinger from Beulah Hazen is the 2 seed. I'm guessing, I have not seen Aaron wrestle, but I'm guessing he's another big, long, tall kid that probably gives some of those 82-pounders a little trouble. 195, another 4-man bracket. Bowman County Kids is the 1 seed. Mitch Stuber is 18-8. He's a senior, so got some experience. And everybody else is going to the state tournament.
Yep.
Let's see. Kind of interesting here. Rylan Sago from Beulah Hazen's 9-5. He's a 2 seed. And then and Levi Reichner from Killdeer's 11-7 is the 3 seed. So you got 3 of the 4 kids with winning records. So they have been out and wrestled a little bit. Here's our challenge: 220 pounds. It's a 2-man bracket. I think you got probably 2 pretty good kids. No real problem with the quality. Adam Mormon from New Salem's 28-8, senior, big, solid, strong kid that's athletic. And then Ethan Jepson from Killdeer, 17-26, and as a sophomore, that Killdeer's been out and beating the streets and wrestling tough matches in North Dakota, South Dakota, and Montana. So 2 good kids, but that's a 2-man bracket. They're going to have 1 match. And
when we're done with this, let's look at the other brackets at 220.
We will. Yep. 285 is another 4-man bracket. Again, Bowman County, Nate Boehm is 31-9, really good wrestler there. And AJ Hines from New Salem, Almont's 24-9 is a freshman. Another good one. So like I said, everybody here is going to make it to the state tournament, and I think you're going to see those 1 and 2 seeds in the final. So that is all of your brackets. I think New Salem and, I guess I don't know who will win this tournament points-wise. It'll be a battle between New Salem, Bowman County, and Edingar.
There's just, I don't know either, because there's so few brackets, so few matches.
Right? Yeah.
Chance of upsets and all the extra points.
Bonus points will be key. Those pin points will really come in handy. Because there's a lot of these kids are going to get, they're only going to, everybody's going to get 2 matches. So, so let's go back to Region 1. See if we can give a kid a ride to the state tournament. You and Virtue on the Dakota Grappler bus.
I'm thinking Region 1. Dakota Grappler is going to nominate a guy from 220 at it. Yeah.
Yeah. Then they'll throw us out of the coaches meeting. Let's see here. While the coaches meeting is going on, you'll be at a wrestling duel, and I'll be somewhere else. So we will be okay. Nobody will get mad at us. 1, 2, 3. There is 6 men in the bracket at the. Hey, this is actually a bracket we should have talked about. I did not go through these, but this is kind of an interesting one. Okay. 220 pounds. Sam Rieger from Lisbon is the 1 seed. And Peyton Grunfelder is the 2 seed.
Okay. Grunfelder got the 2 seed.
Yeah, so there must have been something that happened here recently that I didn't.
Did Rieger beat Grunfelder?
That I did not catch on to, and we're going to find out right now because
did
maybe
they
in the
duel tournament?
Nope.
Lisbon Napoleon.
They did not wrestle in the duel tournament. I see that.
Because Grunfelder has been one for quite a while.
He's been one all year, and I don't know. I did notice that earlier.
Who's the 3? Is it that Ellingson?
Give me 1 second here.
Because that Ellingson from Ellendale Edgeley Calm is pretty tough.
Yeah, he's the 3. He's 20. Yeah, he's 27-6, and then the 4 is Hunter Greenmeyer, and he's pretty tough too. To be honest with you,
all 4 of those guys are very studly. Yes.
Let's see. I've got the bracket right, or I got the. Let's see. Let me look at Peyton's record here. So Peyton. I do not. Peyton Grunfelder. Oh, he lost in a duel. 5-2. Yep, back on January 16th. Okay. So there it is. That I was wondering. I saw that. I knew Peyton had been kind of the number 1 guy there all year. So, but that's how it ended up here at the end. Sam Rieger's 26-10. Grunfelder's 34-4. but one of those 4 losses, I think 3 of them were probably at the Rotary.
Yeah.
I know 3 of them were at the Rotary. He took 8th place.
Yep.
And then Rieger was the other one. So it's all timely on when you get these wins. So when we look here, okay, that's 1, 2, 3, 4. So the 5th seeded guy here is Lewis Gehring from South Border. See, this is one guy I said South Border is going to qualify 10.
Mm-hmm.
This might be the 11th.
That would help South Border out too.
Yeah, if he scores points at the state tournament.
Right. You never know. Just one match can make the difference.
Yep. And he's the 5 seed.
And what kind of record does he have?
He's 17.
Okay.
And let's look here. We got Region 3. Let's go to Region 2. Region 2. See if we can find it. I don't think we're going to find someone with a better record, to be honest with you, if I remember it, looking at this region. This isn't the best radio, me flipping around on this screen, but it's okay. Oh, yeah. Well, there's 6. There's 6 here at Region 2 also.
Okay. So we'll take one out of Region 6 or Region 6. One out of the 6 from Region 2 and one from Region 1.
Yeah, it would be the Harvey Wells County kid is probably the 5th place guy here at this, the way it looks, but there's not a he's pretty green. He's an 8th grader. And so let's take a look at Region 3. I don't remember. Do you remember when we were looking?
Yeah, we just went through it, but what I should have done is I should have pulled up track at the same time and looked at this because I'm just going by memory.
Let's see, Region 3. If they only have 4, then we'll be able to anoint these other guys into the state tournament. Oh no, yeah, I think this is I think Region 2's out. At Region 3, the number 5 kid here is Christian Gamboa from Northern Lights. He's 12 and 15, junior. Okay. So he's got a little better record than the Region 3 or than Region 2.
Yep. So he doesn't qualify.
So if he doesn't qualify, and actually. That the region or the 4 and 5 seed here are very, very close. I think Williams County Northern Lights kid. I think that actually will be a pretty good battle.
Yep.
So there you go.
1 and 3. There's our prediction.
Yep. So you heard it here first.
Region 1 and Region 3, get those 2 20-pounders ready.
Yep, get them ready. Yep. Get an extra ticket on the bus. So actually, that's one of the things that could become kind of big for South Border.
Oh, I tell you what, if that pulls an extra guy to bring South Border to, let's say, 13 wrestlers or 12, it'd be probably 13. And every chance is an opportunity.
Yeah.
There.
So we obviously got to have a state tournament next week. We don't need to kind of figure out how the team points are going to come out, but
we'll get together. We'll make sure we have a show that talks just about the state and the brackets.
Yep. But it looks to me like Lisbon will. We've been saying it all year long, but I still think it looks to me like Pembroke County North could qualify the most kids. Pembroke County North and New Salem could each have 13 qualified.
Okay.
Not that all 13 are going to score points; they all have to, to make a difference. But Lisbon looks like they should have 12. South Border 10. Maybe we just gave them an 11th one. What was the other one? It was Northern Lights. Looks like they could have 9 or maybe 10 if we give them one. Right. Velva looks like 10. South Border, I said that. Bowman County 12.
Okay.
But that's once again, Bowman County and New Salem, they both we're looking at 12 and 13, but and Killdeer 9. But a lot of those are 4-man brackets. So
okay.
But that doesn't mean they aren't solid kids that are there. We don't want to take it against the kids that are showing up and going to practice and making weight and stepping their foot on the line. But we really need to figure out a little better system here, I think.
Yeah. Okay, well, we're sitting almost at an hour. Let's just talk a little bit about Class A. Now, the brackets are not up, and I just looked at both the Class A and West and East regions. Neither one is up yet for brackets, so I'm kind of disappointed. I was looking forward to it. The West region actually has 11 teams, and most of them are full. And if everybody can remember out there, Class A gets an opportunity to bring 3 extra guys to the region wrestling tournament for an opportunity to qualify for state. Now, some of those guys have legitimate shots of making it. Some are just get their experience. But if I go through the numbers, Century's bringing 17 wrestlers. Bismarck High's bringing 17 out of the West. Legacy's bringing 14. Dickinson's bringing 17. Jamestown's bringing 17. Mandad's bringing 15. Now, here's the mystery for me as I look at this. Minot's bringing 18, it says. So I don't know how that's possible, but that's what their count is in the brackets here. It doesn't have the brackets up yet. Maybe they couldn't decide which guy they wanted in. They're just trying to pull something on us. And then St. Mary's has got 16 there. And earlier I thought it said 17, so it says 16 now. Turtle Mountain has 15. Wofford City has 12, and Williston has 16. So very healthy in the West region. I mean, there are a lot of wrestling that's going to take place. And I'm sorry to say there's going to be a lot that have to be sent home, but there'll be some unbelievable wrestling going on there. If you think about it in the Class A, I'm just going to go through a couple of, let's say, what you can expect in, let's go the West region. At 106, you have that LJ Aragio. He's been number 1 since he came off the junior high scene. He's just an 8th grader out of Bismarck High. Phenomenal wrestler, looking really good. I have not seen anybody really get close to him in a match, since he's been on the scene. He looked good at the Rotary. I see him rolling, but there's no slouch. Yeah, in the West, you also have that Gabe Mortensen out of Minot, who would probably be in the region, probably the 2 seed. And then J.J. Thompson out of Legacy should be probably the 3. And then a guy who's wrestling really well lately is Blake Ursuline out of Century. He's given all these guys a pretty good match, and probably LJ Aragio in the last duel of the year, probably his best match, even though Raggio won by, I think, 9 at the end, but it was actually a decent match. And then Jamestown should have that Grady Anderson. So when you really think, you got 5 of the top 6 wrestlers all coming out of the West, and you're going to find that kind of a trend in the West. The West is way, way deeper than the East.
Speaking of a trend, Grady Anderson, he's another Carrington kid. So,
okay.
Well, not really, but his dad is. We still claim him.
Okay. It's amazing how that works because, when we go through some of the lineups, you can pick out the teams and where they're from. Carrington has a lot of different names.
Well, Jangula would be the other one. Jangula's mother is from Carrington. So, actually, Grady Anderson and Garrett Jangler are cousins.
Oh, okay. That's good to know. Okay, then we'll look at another one. Now, Bismarck High will probably have at least six number 1 seeds at the region, and we'll have the same probably at state unless something happens. But at 113, you got returning state champion Christian Tanafu, and you have a premier young wrestler coming out of Jamestown. It's probably going to be the 1 and 2, and that's going to be that Aiden Braun sitting number 2. And then you're going to have Neil Bohr, who's a senior, a big 113-pounder for Century, sitting at 3. And him and Braun had a good match early on. That Braun is really looking good, and I thought probably he could make 6, but according to his coach, his weight certification couldn't even make him down to 6. But he's a good young freshman.
Yep.
Other than that, another kid, Watford City does have a young kid that probably is one of their better wrestlers. Probably could be about the 4 seed coming out of the West, and that's that Ethan Dennis. And so that's probably going to be looking like your top 4 at 113 in the West. I'm not sure how it all pans out after the last few duels, but that's kind of how I would look at it. Then at 120, another number 1 ranked guy at 120 would be that Wilford Tanafu. Both the Tanafus are just juniors. Both have been, you think of Fargo, national champions, Greco, freestyle. There's going to be some D1 colleges have already gone a couple of different places. I think you could see this Tanafu also, who's really been impressive. He's one of the few wrestlers, I think, in Class A that's even undefeated yet. He has not lost yet this year. So Wilfred, or did he lose in the Rumble? Let me think. I thought he was still undefeated. I gotta really think in the back of my head. But the number 2 out of there is going to be a Century kid, just a freshman, Caden Dakota. And then you've got another Century kid who people don't know this, or at least in the last rankings. You also got Hayden Johnsrud, who is ranked at 126, is
Oh,
going to be also wrestling at 120 here in the region there. So you could have two of the kids, probably could be the 2 and 3 out of the West right there sitting. You could have two Century kids facing each other in the semis to see who's going to face, Tanafu in the finals. We'll see how
oh,
that works. But you never know. It's an opportunity for Hayden Johnsrud, who's a senior for Century. They've got a little bit different philosophy than me, but as a senior, he wanted to go down to 20. His weight allowed him to, so they let him, and he did wrestle Dakota off and lost. So Dakota is the varsity 20 pounder for Century. But he said, guess what? He wanted to wrestle 120, so he's actually the backup. Imagine that as a senior, not having the varsity designation, but it does allow him to wrestle. So it's unique.
yeah.
Could also see a kid then out of Dickinson, that Houston Crimmins should be probably ranking out the top four out at 120 there in the West Region 120. At 126, you have cream of the crop, probably one of the pound for pound best wrestlers in the state, that Reese Barnhart from St. Mary's. He's only got one loss of the season, lost in the finals of the Rumble the Red. You also have Hayden Johnsrud there, but now Century has moved that Jacob Ursland in there, who is their 120, who's actually the backup before at 120, who placed last year. I think he placed fifth. I'd have to think about that, fifth or sixth for Century last year at 113. And so he's now the varsity guy. He was the backup at 120, and now he's the varsity starter at 126. You also have a kid that's really coming on from Jamestown. You could see in the mix probably the number 3, that Joel Bowman from Jamestown.
Yep.
Yep, and then at 132, state champion, finalist, all that stuff out of Minot, Kelby Armstrong. He's looked solid. In fact, he's experimented a couple different weights, but's kind of settled in. Going to college up in Minot. And that should be a battle, because here's what's interesting. I'm not sure how they're going to fight this out, because Renner beat him and handily, but I think Kelby beat him earlier in the season. So we'll see
Okay.
what happens in the seeding. I don't think the coaches will fight too much at the region, who gets 1 and who gets 2. But Renner did lose to Schultz once, but then beat him this last time. So maybe, if anything, Kelby has not lost to Schultz. So if I had to guess, Kelby
Oh,
Armstrong would probably be the one in the
the
West
one.
region. And then you'd probably see Renner 2 and Devin Schultz 3. And that went to overtime in the last duel between Renner and Schultz. So
Okay.
that could be a battle come the semis. Their regions also. Schultz and Renner, probably one of the two better matches I saw wrestled in the Rotary Wrestling Tournament. Schultz come out and actually caught him in a quick, what we used to call a front head barrel roll, or a, what do you want to call it? Kind of a suicide, but it's a twister, some people call it.
Twister.
But
Yeah.
yep,
Yeah.
the twister, and caught Renner early on and got ahead and kind of made it through in that one, and in the placing match, or right before, to get into the third floor place match in the Rotary Wrestling Tournament. But Renner's come on, and I tell you what, you don't want to go down on Renner. He is a machine on top. He's got a half series. He's a cradler. He can throw legs in. He's got a lot of moves on top. Still young, just a sophomore, so you're going to see a lot of Caden Renner over the next few years. Then you go to 138, and you've got Century's best young wrestler. Actually, not too young. He's a junior this year. Clay Redens, finalist last year. He should be the number 1. And you'll have Bismarck High should be the 2, and that should be that Peyton Fedek. And he is let me think about this. He is a senior from Bismarck High, but he ranked number 2. But you got another young wrestler coming in who's probably going to be 3. Is that Colton Muse? But
Yep.
this bracket, actually 138 in the region, it's probably one of the tougher brackets you can find in the state, because you'll have maybe 6 or 7 deep of the top wrestlers in the state in that weight class. You also have that Fikely out of
Smart.
St.
Yeah.
Mary's, who's in there. You have Cattermas, who's no slouch. He's a guy that can keep any match close. And then, of course, you got one of Williston's best wrestlers, that Cutter Jones. And so it is a tough weight class, 138. And then I know that Some people bring in extra wrestlers that are also studs that stay in that weight class. So when you think about the region, at least in Class A, there's only 2 regions, so you can place in the top 8. But there are 2 or 3 weight classes, which probably the top 6 or 7 wrestlers are out of the West. So if you want to be 8 or 9, you don't want to be 9. It's very possible. And we'll talk about one of those weight classes in a little bit. Another one, when you think of 145 coming up next, that's another tough weight class where if you had to go rank the top 8, probably 6 or 7 will come out of the West again. Where you got Drew Steidler, who doesn't have as many matches, but complete stud out of St. Mary's. Going to be hard to beat. He'll probably be the one in the West, but then you've got that McClanahan, who is a machine for Minot. And then after that, it does drop down a little bit, but it's going to be a battle. Somebody that's wrestling really well, Ben Wygum. He got the finals down in Aberdeen and really starting to wrestle well. Connor Nelson from Mandan then should be in the mix. That could be the top 4, but that you also have that Maverick Martin in the mix. And it just keeps going. Like I said, with 11 schools in the West region, that weight class should be loaded. Then you go to 152, which, man, Berg has been at 45 at different times, but Berg was up at 52 and beat Fedek. So 152, that's probably could be the toughest weight in the state. Just because guys really can't move. You kind of get, I don't know, you know this too, that as the weights get bigger, some guys can't move out of the weight. It's just that happens to be their weight.
Right.
And people settle in. And 152, traditionally one of the toughest weights in the state for North Dakota. And you have Troy Berg, who's I think a junior this year, or sophomore, who's been ranked number 1 the last ranking or 2. But you also have Brock Fedek, who is a complete animal from Bismarck High, was ranked number 1 for a while. Then you got Will Kleinknecht, who's a state finalist last year, who is a wild card, strong as an ox. And if he gets his machine going on his feet, very few people can stop his takedowns. Then you got Noah Braun out of Jamestown, who also is a guy who has an extra motor and actually can be a very physical wrestler for Jamestown. Then you also got probably Turtle Mountain's best wrestler, that Tate Lattiser, who could be in the mix. He's another guy who has a lot of moves, but I'm not sure if he's quite at the Noah Braun, Fedek, physical type wrestler. But he also has a lot of ability, and you could see him in the mix. And that's even 5. Then you got a kid that's come out who's, I think, a senior, Stugelmeyer out of Legacy, who's tough. And we think it just keeps going deeper and deeper. And I know there's a couple schools from the West that aren't even represented in there that haven't been talked about. I could go on forever about a couple different weight classes. 160. Now, 160 in the state, the West has several wrestlers, but then I can start talking about the East later. You've got a returning state champion who has just a handful of matches under his belt, who's going to be tested a little bit this weekend. That's that Peyton Kring, or Peyton's brother, Brad Kring.
Sure.
Yep, he should be number 1 ranked kid from Bismarck. Then you've got that Chase Burke from Minot in the mix. Seth Berg, who is a little injured and banged up from Mandan, who should be back just fine this weekend. And then, of course, that Clay LaRock will be in the mix. Those could be about the top 4 out of the West. At 170, one of my favorites to watch, Gage Rollison, Bismarck High. He should probably get the 1. And then you'd probably have a toss-up, a kid that's coming on, that Jacob Boehm and Johnny Browning from Jamestown. That could be a great semifinal match on the other side to see who can make the finals. 182, just a bull. Placed for New Salem last year, Isaiah Hughes should be number 1 there. And then you're going to have Tanner Jarrett and Isaiah Fernandez. You're going to have, and probably Court Hubner from Jamestown. And another thing at 195, you got Century's Adam Carenza, who was ranked, is going to be down at 195 at regions here. That's another change that I know about. And I think that weight class is wide open in the West a little bit. You got Carmichael and Glott, kind of the 2 favorites at 95. But Glott got beat by a Watford City kid in their duel, and that Watford City kid got hurt in our duel. He had, I don't know if he had a shoulder injury or something happened, and we beat him with Carranza. So I don't know. 195 could be a very interesting weight class this weekend. You think of 220. Now that in the West is probably overall, that's one weight class that the East could say they dominate. Because in the West, you have Malachi Rivera from Dickinson, and you have Preston Jones from Minot. Other than that, you've got a lot of guys with very little experience in that weight class in the West, and I can't wait to see the bracket and see how that kind of works its way out, because you got to go 8 deep there too. Come state, and there's a weight class you might see 2 or 3 guys coming out of the West that do not have a winning record. It's one of those few weight classes, but you could see it, maybe somebody in there with an 8-22 record coming into state at 220. So maybe 220 is the weight class just in the whole state. We kind of talked about it, Class B, where maybe it's, a lot of people have loved having that extra weight class. Maybe it's time that, we bump that 195 up to 200 and get rid of 220. It's possible. Get to 13 weight classes. I don't know. I'd hate those the bigger guys, because they could probably take me out. Those big strong guys to take out the big weight classes.
Yeah.
but I fight for the small ones. I do, because I look at the coaches out there, and like a Randy Berwick, you look at the Scotty Nolans, you look at all those guys that coach. They were small wrestlers. They were small guys. And imagine taking the opportunity of those guys away as freshmen, sophomores, and they only got to wrestle in their juniors and seniors. We'd have lost a lot of talent in the state along the way. And they don't get to play basketball. They don't get to play football. So don't. And if somebody's listening that ever has control, never get rid of the lower weight classes.
Yep.
I think that would be one of the hugest mistakes for just the sport in general. Then that's my bandwagon statement. And then at heavyweight, Century's Connor Stordalen should be pretty much a little bit above everybody's. He's had a shoulder injury all year, but I think he's wrestling good enough. And you'd also see Krebs out of Jamestown. And then there's several other heavyweights that will have to battle it out. That's another weight class that isn't very deep either, where you could see maybe some alternates making the state there. I'll have to look at the brackets and see how that all works out. Any big takeaways from the East or West region from you?
No, I just see one thing. I will say I did look back, because I could not remember myself, but Willifred did lose in the finals of the Rumble,
right.
but to the Peterson kid from Byron. But yeah, I mean, when you look at that, Bismarck just is so loaded. And and everybody else is sprinkled in there with some really good kids. Century's got a couple that are really tough, and Minot's got some that are really tough. Williston has one, and has some.
Well, it's going to be a battle for the stand. Who's going to be 2? Who's going to be 3? Who's going to be 4 in Class A? And that's I think come the semis, Bismarck will separate themselves, that they can take a deep breath, and really concentrate on the dual final. Kind of know that they don't have to worry so much coming into the wrestlebacks. You think of a couple years ago when Minot had their run,
right?
And Minot had all those guys, and they were battling. I think this is one of those years that Bismarck can actually kind of relax when it comes to the team title, but yet so then they can just focus on the individuals and say, guess what? And then they, let's take this as a team and just have fun, because they are the cream of the crop. It's a little bit different. I don't think they have a thing really to worry about. Let's just go out and have fun. You guys are they're talented enough. I think it's a spot where they've worked hard enough that they know that they're in the right position. Definitely.
Yep, I agree.
Yep. And so then in the East, now the East region, now I'm going to go take a quick peek and refresh track wrestling here and see if the East has got their brackets up, because I did not see any brackets there. Going back, don't see anything. And if they did, I'd be surprised, because the West was not. Let's go to the East. Track is a great thing, guys. I tell you what, I had an opportunity early on when track wrestling first started. They actually asked me if I wanted to, give a little bit of money and get part of it, or kind of at least commission aspect. And I wasn't sure. I was a mistake on my part. But track wrestling has been purchased. If you guys didn't know, but no, I don't see the brackets.
No.
Nope. Okay, so let's look at. I'm going to look at the teams. And here in the East, there are less wrestlers because there's less teams. There's only 10 teams in this one versus 11. So, but you have Devil's Lake has 16 wrestlers, and that is a comeback program. Very impressed. We've talked about them earlier, where they were on the downs, where they were ready to even drop the program, and they've really brought that back. Fargo Davies, always. Keenan Spees has extra wrestlers all the time, and he always has his guys going. For some reason, he always finds a heavyweight that looks like he's gonna, dominate come state time. He does a very good job with all his wrestlers. They've got 17. Fargo North is a little down. Brett Mon's got a lot of work to do there. He's got 9 wrestlers. Fargo South only has 10. Now that's another one who kind of took a hit as programs started to move to West Fargo. Fargo South is in a different area of Fargo where, football, even their big football teams, I think kind of the mix of Fargo,
It's moved south.
It's moved south. I'm not sure exactly how, so Davies has taken a lot of that, and even all sports aspect. You start thinking of championships. I think since Davies came in, I don't think Fargo South has been in the finals, maybe except for football right when they first got there. And you start looking at total numbers and demographics. It's a lot of work to do probably in Fargo South for a good wrestling program. Yep. And then Grand Forks always has numbers. In fact, I haven't had him on this year, and he's a great guy to get on. I'm going to have to get their head coach on too. Red River's got 10. Valley City's got 17. They are the dual champions out of the East. They did run the table and beat everybody in a duel this year. Wahpeton has 11. West Fargo Cheyenne has 13, and West Fargo has 17. West Fargo's a little bit down, but their numbers didn't seem so bad. Part of that tech team having a little hiccup in there, a little bubble. I still think they have a lot of good things coming up. Now it all depends if West Fargo, if they get another high school, that would separate. Supposedly they've been talking about it, and I don't know the final words on that. Have you heard anything?
No, I don't know. I know that there's discussion. I think, Cheyenne was just about full before they got it built. So, but yeah, that whole community just keeps growing further south and west. So, yeah, it's funny how I obviously grew up there, and you go north and it looks almost the same as it did in 1980, and you go south and it just is it's a different world. So. Yeah, it's crazy how it's changed, and but yeah, I don't know where they're at right now. I would have to say that if they did, you could just look at the numbers. I mean, if they did build another school, they're going to have to, you're going to have a combined program somewhere, at least for a while, because they're just, I don't know where everybody's at, but. Cheyenne's got a school full, and we got 13 wrestlers there. So, we just, it just takes time and building that culture of that, people are coming out to wrestle.
Sure, definitely. Well, I'm going to try to keep the East region. I'm not as familiar with it, and I do apologize that way, but try to keep it a little shorter. We're sitting at an hour and a half. I just keep laughing because every time I do this, my wife peeks down the stairs, or my boy, and going, "What in the world? You still on?" But, I would say let's go through a few individuals at each weight class. And then instead of going through who I think, but I think for an example at 106, got the Griebel kid from Valley City, who is, I tell you what, if somebody has the stamina, the willpower, the possibility of beating an Aragio at state, he is the guy. Definitely has all the capabilities. It all depends on. If he can score early and score often, you know how that works. And he's a very good wrestler, and I look forward to watching him over the years too. Very, how can you say, young and intense wrestler, definitely. Best wrestler at 113, you'd probably say a Valley City kid, another Valley City
Miller.
Kid, did good. Ethan Miller at 113. Also, I've watched him grow up. My boy wrestled him in the finals a couple of years ago in freestyle and in Greco. He has a lot of potential. He has a lot of moves. He's young, so I do expect some good things out of him too. I think
it's not the last time we're going to say it, but another one with Carrington ties.
Okay, eighth, and he's just an eighth grader.
Yeah, but yeah, his dad's from Carrington. But yeah, no, I watched him since he was little. Obviously, I mean, probably, first grade.
Yep.
Yeah, we've watched him come through the program, and it's a kid with a lot of wrestling savvy and a ton of mat time, and has a great feel. And it's not surprising me that he'd be probably be the top seed in that bracket.
Right. And then at 120, I tell you what, it's going to be interesting. There's probably two pretty good wrestlers at 120, and it's going to be a battle between that Cole Irwin from West Fargo and Marcus Johnson from Cheyenne. So two West Fargo kids battling there. Cole Irwin also many times. I really saw him battle in the Metro duels. I thought that he has the potential to take out like a Caden Dakota or maybe even a Johns Rude. It all depends on how the brackets shake out. He's also a kid that probably, on the right day could beat a Crimmins. He could end up, being a tough semifinal match if he could get in there. At 126, two really good kids there. In fact, three probably out of there, but I'll just mention that Fisk, Devil's Lake, and then
very good.
Then you have Montagawa. I think that's how you pronounce it.
Yeah, I think so, from Fargo North. Yep.
Yep, and he's a kid that has a lot of potential. In fact, he pinned trying to think, or no, Bowman. Bowman from Jamestown beat Montagawa in the Metro duel. So Bowman's another wild card in that mix. Bowman was taking it to him and pinned him, so that could be an interesting one. I think they faced a couple times, but like I mentioned before. And Tyler Porter, of course, at 126. 132, very good wrestler. Jacob Thomas coming in out of Fargo South. That's Fargo South's probably best wrestler. And then you've got Grand Forks Central has got a good wrestler there. Izasier. Yep. And then 138, you're probably going to look at, that's probably a weight class where the East is got some work to do a little bit to even put it on the stands, because I said 138 was probably one of the toughest weight classes coming out of the West. So we'll have to see what happens there. In fact, I'll look close at that bracket because I think I know a lot of the wrestlers, and that's where my son should have been. He's wrestling 52. But then let's look at 145. Out of there, probably Williams coming out of the West, probably the best at 45 there, out of the East. And then 152, Devil's Lake has a good kid at 152, who actually had a pretty good winning record, but I think he's just a sophomore. He definitely has the build to, so that's another weight class where I'd like to see who is going to come out of the East to battle into the West. 160, you got Parker Larson, coach's boy. At 170, you're going to have McIntosh and, what's the guy's name out of Fargo Davies? I should bring up my stuff here.
170? Connor Chalupek?
Yep, Chalupek. Yep. I should probably bring up, you're much better at that, running the computer in the background. I'm still learning that stuff. Okay, let's see what else. Okay, 182. Colby Rance. I talked about him early on. He is a smooth wrestler from Devil's Lake. He, early on in the season,
going back to 170, John.
Okay, 170.
How about Wapaton's got a kid there that's been pretty tough, I think, too. Joel McIntosh. Is that?
Yep.
He's at 170. How is he? Have you seen him much? Or you seen him? I know I've seen some results, and he's looked pretty decent.
I think he's still West Fargo. McIntosh.
Oh, he is. Okay.
Yep.
Oh, that's right. Okay, I was thinking there was another Wapaton kid too, but yeah, you're right. West Fargo.
Okay. Yep. But then at 82, Supris looked really good, but that Colby Rance, I talked about him in the very first tournament of the year at Minot, and I thought he looked a little small compared to, but then I was comparing him to Lax Burling, Bishop Ryan's 182.
Oh,
Who's gonna go wrestle out at St. Cloud,
yep.
and he looks small compared to him, but but then I watched him wrestle all the people in Class A, and he matches up with all the Class A guys pretty well. So I'm just thinking, that when you think of Oakson from
Corbin,
yep, when you think of Oakson just looked like he could win Class A. Yeah, actually he did at 182. Except I tell you what, it would probably be a battle when you think of that at 182 with probably Hughes, because
oh sure,
because he is big. He is really big. Let's go 195. You got Shane Kennedy from Cheyenne, and again another Devils Lake kid, Robbie Surumgard. I can't.
Surumgard, yeah.
Surumgard. Yep.
Yep.
Yep. And then 220, like I said, this is the one-way class where the East is dominating. And they got Wermeyer. They've got Crump. Now, that's Wapaton's best wrestler. And that Crump, I watched him in the Rotary. And he's another guy that I could see him do lots of things. In fact, I thought he was talented enough probably to wrestle at the next level. So I thought he wrestled real well. Then you got Ben Anderson from West Fargo that actually I think was right with Crump and I think lost in the last seconds last time. And then at heavyweight, the number one ranked kid out of Grand Forks Central, Brady Defoe. Can always see him. But then you've got big Isaiah Gates in there. And, gosh, you got so many. Then you got that big Kuntz out of Devil's Lake. So I tell you what, it's going to be fun. The East and West, both of them, got big matches coming up. And I'm hoping the brackets come on sometime tonight so I can look at them.
Yeah. Going back to Crump, I think if I remember right, he got hurt in the finals of the Storehog.
Okay.
And I don't know if he's wrestled since. So hopefully he's back in the mix.
A good one. Here's how to pronounce it. Craig, thank you for helping us.
Yeah, I saw that. That's awesome.
Monotaqua.
I will not goof that up.
But what's interesting is I know he wrestled really well last year, but I probably just called him Craig. Just trying to pronounce all his last names. Yes.
Yep. No, that's good.
I would call him by his first name, but yes. Thank you, Craig, for bringing that in.
You'll be on the call for the
Craig,
the Beck
I'll
broadcast.
say it's probably Craig's son.
Yep.
I'll mention
there
that.
you go.
If he makes this, I know it's Danny.
Danny, yeah.
But I knew that too. But Craig, if he makes the finals, I'll make sure that I mention you because I'll be broadcasting it. I won't forget. Yes, definitely. Thank you very much, Craig, for watching. But and actually, I'll pronounce his name right in the finals too, because you did that for me. Wouldn't that be great if he make it? That'd be awesome.
Yep.
Yes, definitely. But I tell you what, now the East, a lot of people had to battle, kind of like you think of the Star Wars thing, the evil empire a little bit, West Fargo for many years. But then as Cheyenne came in and separated things, it's been kind of divided pretty evenly between quite a few of the schools. And, I live in the evil empire of the demons too, in the West. If you think of it that way, they rule. And who can knock them off? I don't know. I look at the club. I look at all the stuff. Right now, just total numbers. He's got it made at Bismarck right now, Schumacher. If somebody's going to knock him off, they're going to have to put a team together. And they're going to have to, everything's going to have to fit. And I just think that, especially this year, you need an all-star team to take out Bismarck. But it might be one of the best teams I've seen Bismarck High have in many, many years. So
that's saying something.
Yeah. Okay, so what else is new?
Well, I will say a couple quick things on the college front.
Yes.
One, just before we came on air, I was watching the beginning of the Minnesota State Moorhead University of Mary duel. I watched it up through the 165-pound match, and then I came in here. So and up to that point, I do know the final was 31-13, Mary over Moorhead, and I did get to see a number of North Dakota kids wrestle. Jeremy Lights, Beulah Hazen product, wrestling for Mary. got a major decision. Lake and Bays actually got a forfeit for Mary. Mason Schultz with the got a nice big 6-point throw right at the beginning and ended up winning 9-0 in major decision. Zach Scott from Moorhead, senior night for him over there, and he did get a tech fall over Devin Steidler, Bismarck High product. Then after that, I have to look and see if there was any. Oh, let's see here. We had Gerardo Jaime from Mary did win a match 3-2 close match over Logan Road, who's a Fargo Davies or Fargo South. Fargo was which one? He was
South.
Yeah, South. Sure. That's what I was thinking. Yeah. And then Dominic Tudor, the heavyweight for Mary, won a close match, 3-1 over Jordan Magnus and another North Dakota high school kid out of Valley City. So a lot of North Dakota flavor in that duel. So that's always good to see. Mary did come out on top.
The Minot Dickinson duel.
I did. That was last week. Minot won that duel.
We didn't talk about that one, did we?
We did not. I kind of forgot about it until after the show was over. And Minot won that duel pretty handedly, maybe about the same as it was a similar score to what I actually, we ended up talking about, Minot beating Augustana, I think, instead, and that because that was the one that was to me was a big one, but
stuck out, right?
Yeah, but they did win over Dickinson also. So let's see here. I just saw it here. I had that up. Minot State 32-19. So that was what the final was there. Minot forfeited to Gresh Jones at 133. That's interesting. But yeah, so they good. Minot's coming on here at the right time of the year. There's a few duels this weekend. Northern State's heading to Augustana's heading to Mankato to wrestle Mankato at Mankato on Friday night, and Northern State's can wrestle Mankato on Saturday. So those will kind of be the big ones for our region. Not sure. I think Minot probably has a duel this weekend too, and I don't remember who. They might actually have. Could that be the Mary duel?
I think. Isn't. Well, Moorhead. That's next week.
That's next week.
Yeah, Mary. Yeah,
they must have it. Mary might goes against them coming up.
Yes.
That's a good. That is a good question. We should check on that real quick, just because it's
worth it.
That's a big one, and that's their they duel twice a year, of course, and that is this is their conference duel. One's a non-conference duel, and one's a conference duel, and it could make a little difference for them. I mean. Where they end up in the conference standings. So, and actually, next week on Thursday, first day of state, Mary and Northern State will duel. The 16th. So that's on Sunday, right? Sunday, Minot at Mary. So, if you're in the Bismarck area, get out there and watch that duel. That one will be fire. That's big fun there. It's at 3:00 on. It's 3:00 on Sunday.
I'm gonna have to put that on my own list.
Yep.
I think I got to go out there and see that.
Yep. That'll be a big one. Then on the 20th, Mary travels to Northern State to wrestle. That's a makeup from a storm date, and then everybody's kind of off until the regional. So yeah, that's what's happening on the college front there. There's all kinds of big stuff coming up on D1, but we don't have time tonight. So
right. Well, I did want one more thing I wanted to show, and that is the Hall of Fame people. So people have
absolutely.
I'm going to show. I think I've got that on one of my screens here. So let's go share screen again, and go to my Chrome tab. Here we go. Share that one. Now, what's interesting with what we do here is you can start seeing the State Hall of Fame members this year. These are the people that in Fargo, I am going to hopefully I'm going to set up a little place with a camera, and I have asked a couple people. I think the High School Activities Association is going to approve it that I can go live and interview each one of these and just bring them over to the table as they come in before their Hall of Fame stuff. And so I might get a 5-minute interview. I'm kind of thinking of questions. So if anybody wants to set up, and has a question you want to ask, or maybe even Bill, even if you think about it too, I'm going to try to kind of get a set of about 5, 6 kind of important questions. Like, the first thing is, of course, I want their name and their town they wrestle for and what they remember about their high school career or their college career. Name of a coach, that really helped them along the way. I can't talk to them forever, but I want to try to get in all these Hall of Fame people. So
Yep.
on this, as we look at this, some great people going into this Hall of Fame this year. Nathan Brenna, watched him wrestle. He's my era, same time. Watford City, he was a coach there in Watford City. He's been a volunteer. He came back, I believe. Now, somebody will have to correct me if I'm wrong, but I think him and his wife were both lawyers and then came back to Watford City to go out to the ranch and has helped out. If you look at his stats, he's phenomenal. Undefeated junior year and senior year, 37-0, 32-0. You could go on forever. He's got quite the accomplishments. Next beside him, Nick Eibach from Linton. Um, I also, he's a 2000 person. He was around that era when Napoleon was dominating. I remember him in the mix because Linton at that time when he was on the team, they actually had a chance to be a state championship team and took second when he was on the team. And then I look over to Scott Kelly. Now here's what's interesting. I haven't seen his face since this picture going back to the early 80s. He was a nemesis for a guy named Darwin Dewald, who took second to him twice from Napoleon. So this Scott Kelly was a state champion. You got to think about that at 185 when he was a freshman.
Oh, wow.
And that didn't happen back in that era. And that's from 1979. My dad had the state championship teams in Napoleon 1980, 1981, 1982, and had right around those eras, placing the third and second, whatever, all that stuff in state. But he was a stud for Velva during those years, and seeing him making the Hall of Fame, I remember watching him, and he was tough. He was a good wrestler. It says he went on to Dickinson State, all the other stuff. I'm going to get into all of that. Down here in the bottom, remember Travis Kraft making the Hall of Fame. He had a phenomenal career for Bismarck High. Went and wrestled D1 out in Michigan. Let me think and was a 4-year starter for out there, Michigan. Trying to think of which team out in Michigan again, but it probably says in here D1 Division Eastern Michigan. That's
Eastern
right.
Michigan. Okay.
I should have known that. And then Jesse Labor, probably one of the tougher wrestlers I've ever seen. He could cradle people in college, and that doesn't happen as much. But he had unbelievably long and strong. Probably one of the stronger wrestlers I've seen. National champion for Mary. Great wrestler. Matt Michelson was a Mr. Wrestler, co-Mr. Wrestler his senior year. His dad was the coach for many years out in Dickinson. Great guys going to the Hall of Fame. Like I said, down here, the late Bing Swenson. Remember him helping? I know he passed away a couple years ago. Good to see him, be able to make the Hall of Fame. I remember him going around forever, and he volunteered for many, many years in Williston. And then, of course, we got the 1991 Bismarck High, #1 team in the nation that year. Had several of them go D1 and wrestled off this team. You have, of course, I don't know if you can see him from where you're at, but you got Renner, who helps out at Bismarck High, still today is in there. You've got Kringley in the mix. He went D1. Got another one here who went D1. Gosh, I should know the whole team down here. Jeremy Welder.
Oh, Jeremy Welder, yeah.
Geesey, Brogan, Ben Brogan, he's West Fargo's head wrestling coach. Several of them. So that was one heck of a team. I know they were one in the nation, but when it came to the team of the century, we beat them. Century. The 88 century team, we were the team of the century. They were second behind us, so that's pretty good. Just a little heads up on that. But so there'll be a ton of people. I'm guessing. I know if anybody doesn't know who this is over the far side with the mustache, you know who that is? That's Mark Carter.
Okay.
Mark Carter is a good friend of my dad's. I'm looking forward to seeing him. He's been all over the world. Basically, he's been living in Mexico. He's a pilot, long time wrestling coach, known him for a long time. In fact, I've got several stories I can bring up with him. In fact, I was gonna wrestle for Bismarck High when I moved to Century because he was the co-head coach or head coach at the time, and my dad and him were really good friends. And so it's kind of funny. I just happened to be one block north of the divide in Bismarck, and they kicked me out of Bismarck High and sent me to Century.
That worked out.
Good. It did. But there's a lot of good wrestlers on there. So I can't wait to see a lot of these guys back. I'm going to try to grab a few of them. I'm guessing, I don't know how many, I'm going to have to ask, but I'm guessing you're going to have a lot of these wrestlers back for the Hall of Fame. And then that is the mix. Those are the people. So if you know some of these people, come see them. They'll have the ceremony right before the finals. A lot of them come in Friday night, and they kind of get introduced to different stuff. So I am going to have a call out for any of those Hall of Fame. If they see this beforehand, make sure they look me up, Dakota Grappler. I want to get their story basically archived. A lot of this stuff does not happen otherwise. And I keep having my light in the background. It's computer screen blank out of me. It's about the fifth time. It's what happens when you're on for 2 hours. But seriously, if you have any of these guys come out, and I'd like to ask them a few questions. If you guys have questions you want out there, feel free to send them to me this week.
Sounds great.
Yes. Okay. Well, we got a lot more to look at. I tell you what, Sunday could be busy. Look at some results from the regions. Anything you want, again, Bill, feel free. I'm glad you texted me earlier. Said 8 o'clock, and I was planning it, but I hadn't even put up the stuff. I've been a busy guy running around. But thanks again, Bill. Always awesome. Love it every time visiting wrestling. Thanks again, those guys that came on tonight. Breyer, great information. Penberthy, Craig, thank you for coming on. Mana Takwa, I'll remember that. And everybody else that made comments. Tollefson, Mark Tollefson, who came on for a while. It makes the broadcast so much more fun when you guys have some commentary. It's always good. Definitely.
That's awesome. A lot of great regionals, some great college stuff. We're going to see Gable and Cassiope this weekend. We're going to see Nick Lee and Luke Pletcher wrestle this weekend. So going to see a lot of great college matches on the Division I side. Division II side's got some pretty big stuff happening, and all of the high school matches. So get out and watch some wrestling. Feel free to watch it on TV or on Flow or wherever else you might see it. And
Big Ten Network will have some good matches this weekend too.
Big Ten Network has back-to-back matches on Saturday. So as soon as you get done with your regional, invite the whole team over and order some pizza and watch a couple duels in a row.
Awesome. Definitely. Well, thanks again, everybody. We are out 2 hours tonight. Thank you again. Go support wrestling this weekend.
Thanks.